Hello and welcome back to Factorio, where I binge a lot. Yeah, I've been playing probably way too much of Factorio as it is right now. But yeah, it is what it is. I absolutely love Factorio, so I'm not going to feel guilty about it in any way possible, like at all, ever. I think what I'm going to do is just cut this bit and make this a bit more controlled, where this is actually 25% and this gets a lot more, namely 75%. Now this needs to be red, this needs to be red, and it needs to be red. There we go, that should be do red here, so it actually, this way we actually get the majority of the fuel blocks to be pushed into use for rocket fuel and science and all that good stuff. And if it for some reason backs up, then it will go to actually become fuel and be used to power stuff. So we have basically no petroleum gas. Thanks to our system, we actually are getting some of it. We had a bit of a weak link where we didn't make any like solid fuel blocks from heavy oil if we didn't have like equal or greater to 245,000 light oil, which wasn't enough. Like with how much we had, it wasn't enough to trigger the system to let it flow, which meant that the heavy oil built up, which meant that we didn't get anything. And let's see what they destroyed. They actually destroyed a wall, and it was out here, which means we need to take care of it. Let's go take care of it, shall we? Hopefully by the time we get back, it will be a bit better when it comes to resources and stuff in the base, because we actually are having a bit of trouble keeping the production of red high enough, and that is usually what I have trouble with, because of me not going like crazy with how much I make. Red is usually the thing you are going to have trouble with, because it's quite slow. It's not a quick thing to produce, and it requires quite a lot of resources to make actually. So it is very often a big bottleneck in your factory. Here we go, fixed and reinforced. We should actually fix this as well, since we are already down here. We might as well. Are you going to colonize? I actually want to watch this. If they are trying to colonize or if they are trying to build up an attack squad. But it's just that this is the only spot they can gather in. Maybe, I don't know. I think this might be like an attack squad, because it seems like they are just walking around waiting for them to become a great enough force. And it might actually have been that this was one nest, like one big biter base. But the forest separated them. But anyway, let's remove you. Yeah, doing both laser damage and like projectile damage at the same time is very powerful. You do a lot of damage very quickly. The problem with the lasers, like the personal laser defense, is that you have no control over what they are targeting. So unless you are very good at positioning yourself so they target somewhat what you want to target, it is going to be very hard to actually kill the target you want to kill if you have a specific target you want to focus on. In that case, the weapon is going to be a lot more useful and helpful. But that is... It still does a lot, like, not as much damage, since many of the biters actually do have armor against physical damage, so... The reason why I'm like going back and forth is because the biters try to predict your movements, and if you going back and forth all the time, they will a lot of the time just miss, because they think you're going one way and then you just change direction, and that means they will just completely miss you, which is a bit gimmicky, I would say, but still, you take a lot less damage. Even, like, it doesn't matter how fast you are, how fast you're running, even if you're super slow, just doing, like, changing direction all the time, you will see that they miss a lot. Even if you're like besides the worms, you will see that they miss often, very often. However, if you stand still, they will hit you every single time. However, I would say this is better than how the worms were before, where they could actually hit you regardless. If you got into range, you would take damage. It didn't matter. They would have a 100% accuracy on hitting you. Like, they were a surefire turret which would never ever miss. Which was, well, yeah, a bit weird, to be honest. While this technique is a bit gimmicky, it's more understanding that I actually miss since I'm changing direction all the time. Since they try to target where they think I'm going to go, and then I change direction and they miss. It's a lot, like, it makes a lot more sense, but still it is. But at the same time, they do a lot more damage than they did before, I feel. So I'm not feeling that guilty doing it, to be honest. So yeah. And it actually does damage just standing in it. So running around here is going to, like, do a lot of damage. So I'm not feeling guilty really doing the gimmicky kind of thing and just running in basically circles so they always miss me. Now, doing that doesn't mean you won't take damage. It just means that you won't take as much damage, because the floor will still get cluttered with a bunch of acid which you need to run through. So you will take damage, it's just not going to be as much damage. Let's see if we I think we cleared out a ton of stuff that was necessary to clear out. Now I could do a lot more, but I can't be bothered with doing it. We have taken care of the worst, I believe. So let's leave it at that. Here comes the oil train. Having fun going back and forth, doing the same thing all over the like all the time. Never ever changing direction or taking a different route, just yeah. I probably should put productivity and stuff into these, and 2 productivity and 1 speed, but I don't know if I want to do that. It's going to use a lot of power, which I'm not sure I want to like use. Now, is this rocket being made? Yes, it is. It is actually more than halfway done. Good. That's good. What's holding us back is actually the rocket fuel. Let's take a look at the light oil. How is the light oil doing? It's doing fine. The petroleum gas is going very slowly but surely upwards. Now, I don't want to continue this, to be honest. And I think I rather do speed, like do modules here than over here first. So let's see if we can scrape together some modules and to use. We're just barely having more production than consumption at this point, which is good that we actually have a bit. Oh, we got attacked. That's why it was jumping around. Now, since the sun is coming up, it means that our production is going way up. Because solar power is actually really powerful, but it's... let's say you have a certain amount of solar power, cut that in half with how in efficiency, because the nighttime isn't going to give you any solar power at all, because it's night, so there shouldn't be any suns up and about unless there's something, unless there's like twin stars or some weird anomaly going around, or there's rings or a bunch of moons or stuff which reflect light, which makes stuff super bright, even if it's dark, and it's bright enough to actually like trigger solar panels to actually produce electricity. Now, seems like the blue is fine. The red is doing okay. How's the green? The green is struggling. And yeah, the green is struggling. We are actually having problem with supplying the top line with copper again. At this point, there's really nothing there's nothing I can do about that. The only thing I can do at this point to fix that is to actually make another like line and then just feed it in further along. But I think what I'm going to do, instead of doing that, I'm going to take 16, 24 of these and 6 there. Might not be enough, but whatever, we'll see. We are going to run up here. We are going to upgrade. For a very simple reason. And that is because we need to fix the problem called copper feeding. Well, feeding these with copper is always going to be an arduous task. It's not going to be like simple or like easy or anything. It's going to take a lot of resources, going to take a lot of time. you are going to have to finagle to see if how can you actually make this get supplied. And it doesn't matter which like how, it doesn't matter how many times I've done this, I always struggle to supply stuff with red circuits. It's always the reds. Once the blue is fine, it's always the reds lagging behind. Every single time. Now, whether that is because I'm not building them, I'm not building enough of them. Now, I could probably double what I have to get enough. Now, that would mean I probably would need to triple the amount of green I'm doing, which I'm not sure I actually have the copper and iron production capabilities to do. So that is why I'm doing this the way I'm doing it, by using modules, because power is slightly easier to get, and the amount of copper you actually need to use now is a lot less. You get a lot more copper cable out of it. You actually do it faster, but you pay by having to use some power, some extra power, which you might or might not have. If you don't have it, then don't do the modules. If you have it, well, go right ahead. But yeah, how far have we come? 74%. It is coming along. I don't want to auto launch. I want to talk about this a bit, and we'll see when it gets done. Depending on when it gets done, I might have a separate final episode where I talk about the rocket and the satellite and other bits and bobs. And I'm going to actually remove this one because I don't want that, and the rest can stay. But yeah, once the rocket is done, I'll see. I probably am going to make a separate, rather, depending on when the rocket is done, if I can squeeze it in at the end or something, I will. Oh, that wall is finally destroyed. But I will see when it gets done and how I can do the final episode, because I want to talk about what happens a bit after actually shooting up the rocket, as well as what the rocket is and what you have to think about, what you can do with it, what it does, what kind of benefits you actually get from shooting up a rocket, long term and short term. The short term, of course, is you've finished the game, so if you want to, you can just put it on the shelf and never play it again, but that seems a bit silly since it's such a good game and I forget time all the time, and that would be a quality stamp, right? If I forget time, it's a quality stamp that the game is good, subjectively, of course. Output, priority, this one and that, and boom, and wham. Just so we don't have anything sitting there. Don't actually need to do it, just... Well, whatever. Like the petroleum gas is actually climbing. It is going up. But if it's going up enough, well, that's a different story. Or quick enough, or whatever you want to say. We have 138k of that. Let's... You know what? Let's make one more of these. And then we are not going to make any more of them. Yeah. This is the last basic oil processing I will do. Because it seems a bit silly to... Well, it seems a bit silly. Just going to say that. I'm going to request for one. To get a new one, and let's do this. Let's go. And what I want to do at the end here is just talk about a bit of the coal liquefaction we can do. Now this is an interesting one because we need to actually supply heavy oil to it. Let's go up where we actually have some coal on a belt, and it is a really interesting one because you actually have to put heavy oil into it, and you will get heavy oil out of it. It is very interesting. I have to say. And then you need to make steam, and to make steam you need water. You need access to water, and you need to have a boiler actually boil the water. Like this. Then we need the pump. I'm going to put a pump here. So we separate this, so like this. So we use the excess production of it, and we now have heavy oil in here. Now we need coal. Now coal should be supplied not over there, but rather from the bus would probably be the best thing. And I think basically like this. And let's put it into a passive provider. Let's make sure we actually hook up power. And off it goes, and let's keep 3 stacks. So we don't get way too much of it. And then we need... one here and one here. Probably going to set this to 30. And this can have a coal of, let's say, 20. Like that. And it's going to make a bit of everything, but it's going to do a lot of heavy. What I will do here is make this. And what I should do is put 1, 2, 3 pumps for all the different ones like this. This way we will have all of the different oil types being put into the system, but at the same time like not clog up anything. So let's see if we can power this. See if we can demonstrate how this works without any major problem. And as we can see, we have coal. I think we need even more coal over here. We might actually need like 50. So yeah, what happens here is we take a heavy oil and coal and then basically heat it up to crack it to make a lot more heavy oil, and then we get some bit of extra products as in light oil and petroleum gas. And this is a way to produce quite a lot of heavy oil without getting a lot of the other two stuff. And heavy oil, depending on like how big you're going and what you're doing, in what quantities you're doing it in, you might actually have some problems with having way too little heavy oil because of cracking, or you're doing something else, or well, in our case we actually want more heavy oil to make fuel blocks. So with that, I think we are going to end this. Before we end it, let's take a peek at this, which actually I didn't hear it. I didn't like plan this at all. It's finished. So in the next episode, we are going to take a look at the rocket and launching it. Because we have a satellite, so we are going to talk about the rocket. We are going to make the next episode the last episode, I believe. Yeah, I think that is going to be, well, this is a long series. So let's take a peek. If we save, how many hours have we been going? 46. It's still a lot of hours. So we have the rocket. The next episode is going to be the final episode. I'm not sure how long it's going to be, but it's still going to be the final one. So look forward to it, and thanks for watching. Goodbye, and I hope I'll see you in the next one.